You know, how could I have left out probably the best experience I had growing up? Um, you know, today if you drive around Jamaica, you can pick up a taxi to anywhere you want to go in Jamaica. I mean, anywhere in the highest of the bushes. Yes. Back in our days, we had big buses. You know, in the 60s and early 70s, we had some big buses. And those buses were the transportation of choice. It was the cargo vehicle to carry things to market. It was the choice transportation for school bus kids, you know, in the early mornings and in the afternoons. And they provided a great experience as a boy growing up. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, riding in a bus. Well, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's talk about the types of buses that I was accustomed to seeing. The names of the buses, right? All right. So the two most popular buses that came through, they're big buses. In my time, they were really big buses. The two most popular buses were from the same company, and you know, if you're a part of this, you can tell me the name of the company. Please feel free, because we don't remember the name of the umbrella company. All we know is the bus name. So one we named Mail Bus and one named Victor Bus, right? And you know, at 6:30 in the mornings, if you are in Oracabessa and you look across going towards Otrius, you know, in order for you to know that your bus is coming from Otrius, just look across the gully. You know, stand and look south. And you'll see, but most likely you'll hear the bus coming. Pa, 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 pa. So you'll hear the buses coming from Golden Head, from as far away as probably the airport, which is 3 miles down the street. The bus is making noise coming, right? Well, let's put one bus, because the early bus was the mail bus, and the other bus was the Victor bus. So at 6:30 on the stroke, or 6:30, it pulls up right in front of Miss Ten shop. Okay, yes, Miss Ten, which is, you know, became Miss Shim. I don't know what it is now, okay? But 10 supermarket, at 6:30, that bus would pull up in front of 10 supermarket. And whomever is jumping on during the week, it's most likely students in green uniform, green and white uniform, going to St. Mary's Eye. All right? And then at 7 o'clock, at the stroke of 7 o'clock, pow! A Victor bus shows up. So one of them would go to Ocherius and overnight, right? And the other one would go to St. Anne's Bay and overnight. And so hence there's a half an hour difference between both of them that pass through. But they're always in a race. Sometimes they pop up together. And the sweetest thing is to see both buses rolling down, you know, pa 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 pa, and the drivers loving each other, you know, giving each other love with the horns, because they know the school kids love that, you know. And so going through, or when they come through Oracabessa, it's like, oh my God, you know, you want to be a bus driver. I mean, I wanted to be a bus driver. When I walked up inside of a Victor bus, there was this really popular driver, him named Eggy, right? And Eggy was no, listen, when Eggy drove bus, he had everybody in St. Mary coming along with him. Everybody. I'm talking everybody. When Eggy came through St. Mary, everybody knew that it was him coming through because the way he horned that bus, the way he pulled up on that gearbox, you know, it's like when you jump into a bus with Eggy, you want to be at the front, in the long seat, so you can look at him. and let me tell you, Jesus, peace. So he has. This is the steering. The horn is up here, right? Pop, 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 pop. Okay. And then he has a gearbox with 6 gears. And when Eggy is going down a hill or approaching a corner, he gears down from 6 to 1. Who wouldn't want to be a bus driver? I mean, think about it. And the Leland brand, an English brand bus manufacturer of these engines, the Leland brand could take all of those gears, no matter what, and so it helped one. When you gear down, it helped to hold the bus back. It helped with braking, but more so, it helps to create excitement. And then hop. It was really fun time. So these races between the mail bus and the Victor bus, and I can't remember any buses having any accidents during those times. And they didn't drive slow. Okay. And those buses going through the junction, and when they go through the junction, they are driving fast. Those guys know the junction well, and people enjoy being on those buses through the junction. And junction is precipice we're talking about, okay? Corners after corners, bad road and precipice. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So we had, Eggy and Miss Cherry, who were the combo on Victor bus, right? Every now and then you'll see them on the mail bus because it's the same company. So if a driver doesn't show up or something like that, and they need Eggy to do mail bus, then he'll do it too. But trust me, the Victor bus was Eggy and Miss Cherry. Miss Cherry was the sweetest cherry as a conductress, a conductor. She collected the money, and she. The best smile in the world, right? You want to see, it's like you don't want to go on any bus unless Miss Cherry is on there, okay? So Miss Cherry would be the catcher, the eye catcher for the boys and stuff. And we all wanted to be on Eggy and Miss Cherry bus. So if Eggy and Miss Cherry not working together, it's nothing sweet, Eggy has to be there and Miss Cherry has to be there on the Victor bus. And so they work in tandem. So if Eggy goes to work on mail bus, Cherry follows him. It was really exciting. I really wanted to be a bus driver. Because when you sit there and you watch these guys move the gearbox from 6 to 1 and from 1 to 6, it was really cool. The nicest thing is when you sit in the bus and they stop, pow, and just pow and throw it into reverse and just use their mirrors, and that was so cool. That was really cool, So those buses created a lot of excitement and created a place where our boys, wanting to be something, by the time I get to 18, 19, 20, there was those buses didn't exist anymore, so I couldn't be a bus driver, But we had several types of buses, several companies that passed through, and they're on all different routes. They pass through. Macaulay's. It's so funny that Macaulay's transport I didn't like the bus, but it was more a business transaction for us. It wasn't fun driving on Macaulay's bus. So when we would go out on a Saturday, my mom and I would go out on a Saturday. We'd take the Macaulay's bus from Oracabessa up to Retreat Content. And then we walk down from Content down to Rainover, and then take a vehicle from Rainover to Stratton, and then walk all the way up to Boscobel, and then take another bus up. And most times, it's like the Sunbeam that we're taking later on, or the Honeybee that we're taking later on. And so I did an interview about 3 years ago. I was in Jamaica, and when I walked into this office, it was the Jamaica Environmental Trust, or Environment Trust office. And I walked in and I met this young lady, and her name was Macaulay's. So I said, I've never heard that name before other than on a bus. And this was 3 years ago, 2017. And she said, oh, that was my dad's bus. I just brought back a lot of memories for us, But Macaulay's, I never really enjoyed the ride because, as I said, it was transactional, and the bus it wasn't no fancy bus. Miss Rose was on the bus as a really, healthy body lady, and she was even though she was nice and healthy body, and then the driver was, an older guy, and he drove really slow, and so it wasn't fun. There was Honeybee. That bus traveled the length of the North Coast, from Montego Bay to Port Antonio. Honeybee was it looked like the Victor bus, right? Honeybee traveled Montego Bay and stops at the major cities or towns, coming up all the way. Honeybee was a big catcher also, always filled with people, because everybody knew it, and it was coming down from town to town and bringing people from market going. And I'll talk about market in a few minutes too, so I'll tell you about that. That's very interesting stuff. Then we had the North Star. I didn't know where the North Star ran, but it parked in Oracabessa, right? And then it leaves there 4 o'clock in the morning and head to Kingston. I don't know, but I heard it went through the Devil's Race course and all that, but I've never traveled on the North Star. But it was always it overnights in Oracabessa. There was Northern Queen. Northern Queen was owned by someone in Oracabessa, and it traveled. I don't know where it traveled either. I've never traveled on it, but the school children from St. Mary's Eye, and so they traveled on Northern Queen. So what other bus did you travel on? During your days, there was the Sunbeam. This is the 60s and 70s, right? There was the Sunbeam. It came out. It drove to. It went from somewhere in the east or from Kingston and traveled to Ocho Rios at odd times. So it comes up like not during the time that students traveled on buses. So it comes. I think it came to Oracabessa like 11 o'clock in the daytime, and then 5 o'clock in the evening. It passed through Oracabessa. So we don't get to take that, even though it passes through. We didn't get to take it that often. What was your mode of transportation? What was your bus that passed through your town? And that's a good question. I need you guys to answer that. The other thing though is that I said also that this bus is also a cargo bus, right? So we talked about being in a bus, in the bus. We talked about the route that they take, but one of the most interesting part of routes is that most of these buses head to Kingston, and they travel through, let's say, St. Mary and going through the junction, right? They had a big carrier on the top of the bus, and so they pick up market people who are selling. I think I shouldn't have said market people. People who business people who bring their produce from their communities into Kingston to Coronation Market to sell. So generally they take the bus and they stack their produce on top of the bus. Right? So there are 3 people, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 persons who work on a bus. All right. There are 2 bagmen, the conductor and the driver. So what the bagmen did, they stay at the side of the bus, one at the front door and one at the back door. That's where they rode. They rode on the doorstep of the buses, and so when they stop at a stop to pick up cargo, to pick up banana or yam or crocus bag of goodies and so forth, oranges and so to sell at Coronation Market. It was so sweet to see how one would pick up the stuff from the bottom and just throw it up at the top, and the one at the top catches it and then stacks it, and those things don't fall off. Okay, I never went to the end of the bus ride to see that how they take them down, but I certainly saw bananas rolling up, crocus bags of yam rolling up, potatoes and every crocus bag of orange and all that stuff going up, and it's beautiful to see these guys just swing it up, And then the other thing is some of these buses come with a little most of them do come with a little ladder on the side of it or on the back of it, and that's how they get that the guy at the top. That's how he gets on top of the bus. So he's a packer. So the one that goes on top of the bus, he catches the stuff and then he packs it, and he knows how to pack it, so that the bus don't flip because it's too heavy. It's heavy to the side or anything. But it was fun to see these guys just throwing stuff and catching, and it was just a fun time watching buses go by in during those days. These are the big buses, and the same thing. My neighbor, the family that I talk about so much, the father drove trucks that were of the Leyland brand, and he was like Eggy, love for draw gear. In fact, I'll tell you this, they called him Geary. They called Mr. Lazi Geary from the fact that he loves to pull down 6 from 6 to 1 and 1 to 6, to go back up. You always enjoy driving with Lazi, because anytime I come, he used to drive ice truck, right? And anytime that ice truck come in a Oracabessa, pop, pop, and people going to buy ice. So he stops at the various stops. And let me tell you something. I drove to Port Antonio in the back of his truck before, or in the front of his truck with him going on ice. And let me tell you something. Some gear. Oh my God, they call. Yes, they did call him Gary. Gary Laws, where God. That was funny. So Jamaica was packed with big trucks, a lot of big trucks those days. And we call them dumper or low boy. And used to watch these trucks go by. We didn't have a lot of vehicles in Jamaica in those days. So it was exciting for boys to sit on the wall and look at the trucks pass and say, no, the one there far going on. The one there, that's this, and the one there, that, the one there, Leland. Oh my God, one new Leland come out. Oh my God. We also used to look at the cars, the Fiats, we call it again, Ford Cortina, the Ford Escorts, and people used to soup up their cars and they make a lot of noise on the road, rolling down. and so we used to sit and watch the cars go by and try to guess, okay, which one of the model is that? Which model is that? We don't have no time for that these days. Who cares what kind of car you drive? But back in the days, we used to have fun just watching cars go by and we wonder about, oh my God, how it feels to drive inside of those cars, how it feels to drive in that truck there. We used to have a truck. I think it was a one of those um, one of those trucks that we use now, but it used to carry sand or it carried sugar. We used to, either sand or sugar, heavy stuff. And when it would pass through, when those trucks would pass through, you didn't they'd blow a horn. The horn is way different, bop, bop, And then when it would pass us, and it changes gear, the braking system, and then dum 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 dum. Somebody can tell me what truck that is. Actually, tell me what truck that is. All right, so it's like it belch. It belches at the foot of the hill, or when it's breaking up. It's the air brake that makes that noise. I found out later on. I thought it was the engine. All right, and so exciting stuff. As we grew with cars and buses and trucks, I remember my mom changed the course of my life one time, because there was this guy who owned a truck, and he would take produce to market, people's produce to market, and they would drive in a different vehicle, but all he does is move the produce. And I remember when I left high school, but just before I went to college, let me see, Mom was still there. Mom left 78, so it would have been probably the summer of 1978. We had a neighbor with a truck, and that truck, as I said, was carrying produce. And I went to Kingston with him. And when I came home back in the evening, I told Mama where I was. Mama said, don't ever go back on that truck. And the wisdom caused me to think. And I said to myself, wow, I could have easily been a truck boy. But I'm happy that she created wisdom for me. This is Leo Gilling, and I'm coming to you with my fun life as I record it on video. It's my book. But everything that I tell you so far is in my book. It just hasn't been edited yet to be published. And so you can find these videos on YouTube. You can find some of them on Facebook. So I won't post all of them on Facebook, but they will all be on YouTube. Please go ahead and take some time and look them up. They're fun stuff. They're sad stuff too, but mostly fun. Thank you. It's Leo Gilling, Leogilling. One word. You can search that, or you can search two separate words. All right. Bye-bye now.